Hey everyone, this is PrinceBrightstar, and welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. It has been quite a while since we last checked this game out here on Twitch, but this is one of the regulars I do play every now and then, so I did want to invite all of you in as I check out patch 5.2 here today. We're going to be starting out today, actually, here over in Mordsuk, where the next portion of the raid series starts, right over here. This being with the whole situation of restoring the different elements to the land. Let's speak to Yalfort here. So Yalfort has arrived in Mordsuk bearing pertinent information. Ah, there you are. I'm part of the team helping with the highly classified and very, very secret thing. The fact of the matter is, I've come to inform you of a rather interesting development. It's about the girl who was brought back from the empty. She's finally woken up, you see. Yolfort. And Prince, too! We heard the news from Thancred. Is it true? Why, yes, it most certainly is. Although, apparently, her name is Gaia. She claims to be a free citizen of Yomor, although she remembers nothing of the events leading up to her attack on Eden. She's lost her memory? Parts of it, at the very least. We also cannot be sure whether she's telling the truth or if it's merely a ruse. She's yet to display any hostility, which is encouraging, I suppose. And Thancred's with her now, is he? Yes, he's taken her to Yomor, mainly to verify what she's told us so far. Quiz the locals, that sort of thing. After that, the plan is to come back here, though they're taking rather longer than I'd anticipated. I do hope nothing is amiss. Good grief! Are you always this slow? At this rate, it'll be dark again before we know it. The night sky returning is all well and good, but it does make each day seem awfully short. And are you still dragging your heels back there? At least act as if you've got a purpose, would you? Now look here. I'm not one of your servants. Why don't you try carrying your own luggage for a change? Thancred, you're back! You lot are a sight for sore eyes. Yes, even you, Oriange. Gaia and I have just finished shipping her personal effects from Yomor. I'm glad we could finally meet. Properly, I mean. So, did you learn anything useful? Other than where she lives, not an awful lot. Her supposed neighbors barely knew the first thing about her. Hells, she barely knows the first thing about herself. Her recollection of her life in Yomor is patchy at best. But she seems convinced that she'll regain her memory if she accompanies us, and so she invited herself in to join our merry band. And for her first act, she ordered me to carry her luggage. If you insist on standing around talking, might I suggest finding a place to sit down first? My feet are killing me. Then perhaps you should have chosen more sensible footwear. Still, it's not such a bad idea. Shall we? Alright, so looks like we are headed over to here. So you don't remember anything at all? Not attacking us? Not falling unconscious? Such selective amnesia would rightly raise suspicion within those of a cautious mind. Yet if she doth speak the truth, it would lend credence to my current hypothesis, though admittedly some further... Now, Horiange, she's only just woken up. Don't want to bore her back to sleep. In any case, I prefer to follow my instincts, and they're telling me that Gaia means us no harm. After much deliberation, I thought it only right to let her know about our work in the empty, as a sign of goodwill. After all, trust works both ways. Though, I would ask you, Prince, not to let your guard down just yet. So you're the one I'm supposed to have fought. Come to think of it, I recognize you from somewhere. Though you should, considering you tried to kill me. Well, if Thancred's version of events is anything to go by, you weren't exactly holding back yourself. Still, it seems I didn't give you much of a choice but to defend yourself. Let's call it even. Not that I have any recollection of it. It's like remembering fragments of a dream, only to realize those things actually happened. It's as though my whole life has been leading to this. Thou speakest as though thou didst expect these events. I guess you could say that. It's what the fairy tells me. I can't see it, but it's as though there's someone else inside me, and I can hear its voice in my head. It whispers and lets me use its power. Magic, I suppose you could call it. Not that I know much about that sort of thing. And this power alloweth thee to tear open the fabric betwixt realities, that thou mayest call forth the ether-starved denizens of what remaineth of the 13th. What? Was that supposed to mean something, or are you just spouting random words at me? Honestly, I don't know how you all put up with this. I've only just met him, and his insufferable prattle is already giving me a headache. Gods, I still can't believe I'm having this conversation. And to think that I was flying about in a suit of armor, waving a sword, that doesn't sound like me at all. Someone else inside you. Like Minfilia was inside me. Aye, the similarities cannot be ignored, though it is too early to say with certainty Gaia may well be the Oracle of Darkness. The Oracle of Darkness? What does this mean? It means that you may have been right when you said she has something in common with Emmet Selt. Those who have been used as a living host by an Ascian have no recollection of events that occurred during their possession. This I know from personal experience. But Gaia seems to have some memories still, even if they're a little hazy. Moreover, she has remained in control of herself even when she heard the voice within, much like you and Minfilia. And though Reen was very much her own person, Nymphylia's presence did exert a change upon her outward appearance, granting her hair and eyes a hue akin to that of our dear departed friend. It is therefore not unthinkable that Gaia's raven locks may be a manifestation of the darkness which hath come to reside within her. But I was born like this, and my parents, they both had black hair too. Or at least I think they did. It's been so long since I saw them, I can't remember too well. But enough about me. You're Nymphylia, aren't you? The Oracle of Light, who they were hosting in Yulmore? That's right. Though imprisoning is a better word, they kept me locked away, and I didn't know much about Yulmore and its people, or the rest of the world for that matter. I see. And how exactly did the Oracle of Light come to run with the Warrior of Darkness? Well, it all started when... Yes, I still remember the day everyone went raving mad and Lord Vothfrey fled. Everything after that is still a blur, though. From what Gaia's told me, she wasn't part of the mob that attacked us. But how was she able to resist Vothfrey's control? Mayhap 'twas the intervention of this fairy of whom she speaketh. As curious as that may be, we still don't know why she appeared out of nowhere as soon as Eden took flight. This is just a guess, but I'd say that the fairy reacted to it in some way, and for whatever reason made me go after it. Yes, that seems like the only explanation. I don't know about you lot, but I've had enough nattering. I'm going back to Eden. What? But why? The fairy wanted something else from Eden, and knowing what that is will bring me a step closer to discovering exactly what has been living in my head all these years. Besides, my memories aren't going to restore themselves, and certainly not through idle chit-chat. So I'm going, and that's that. Gaia, wait! Insufferable. Utterly insufferable. And yet we can't well leave her on her own devices. Come on. Alright, so that is going to take us back to the southeast, where we can actually depart for Eden. Oh, actually, it's taking us over here. I guess we got some fights to do first. Get away from me! What did I say? Gaia! It seems I have no choice. Well, that's time magic for you. What am I? Alright, let's speak to Gaia. What are you all gawping at? I don't mean to stare, but it's not every day I see magic like that. So this is the power of the fairy you spoke of? Ever since I was a child, it has whispered to me, telling me what to do. That's how I came to use its power. But there are things I can't even explain. Holes ripped in thin air, terrifying creatures crawling out, ghastly-looking blades and armor appearing out of nowhere. But worst of all is the dark energy that comes from inside. This power, it feels as though it's only flowing through me, and never truly mine. And even when it answers my call, it always takes a few moments for the spells to work. So in summary, you don't have control over the magic. Well, it's not as if I ever tried to control it. I haven't made a habit of fighting wild beasts. Unfortunately, it's part and parcel of traveling through Amarai. And while I understand you want answers, you're not going to find them unprepared as you are. But if your heart is set on this, then we'll help you. Reem, think about what you're saying. You're seriously considering taking Gaia to see Eden? There's no telling what might happen if she loses control again. So the safest option is for her to stay away until our work is done. Somewhere we can keep an eye on her. You must realize it's for her own good. I must concur with Thancred's assessment. At present, we know precious little of Gaia's origin, and less still of her powers. If she is indeed the Oracle of Darkness, her presence may complicate a task already fraught with peril, placing our mission and her own well-being in jeopardy. In full knowledge of the risks, dost thou still wish to pursue this course? I do. It wasn't so long ago that I was living in isolation, being held against my will. Maybe the people keeping an eye on me thought that was for my own good, too. But if we shut Gaia away for our own convenience, we're no better than Vothri and Ranjit. I've learned that when someone is in need, we must reach out a helping hand, not push them away. Now it's my turn to do for Gaia what you've all done for me. Even knowing the danger that lies ahead, I won't choose the easy way out. This is the path I've chosen. Is that good enough for you? Well, can't say fairer than that. How about you, Ariange? The light of thy spirit doth burn bright. Mine apologies, my dear, but we felt it necessary to test thy resolve. Let it suffice it to say thou hast left no room for doubt. For what it's worth, Reen, I never doubted you. But make no mistake, the danger that Oriange and I spoke of is all too real. If you're prepared to go through with this, we'll be right there beside you. That means a lot to me. Thank you. I couldn't care less who I traveled with, but if we're going to go, then let's get going already. There's supposed to be some sort of craft waiting at the southern watchtower, yes? Come along then, and don't fall behind. Alrighty, let's make our way to the south now. And the craft will be right over here. It might be a bit of a tight squeeze with 5 of us, but we'll manage. Perhaps Urianger can sit on top of our luggage. Let us depart for the empty. So, there it is. Eden, where I'll find the answers I seek. The bringer of the flood, the first Sin Eater. Would it lead me to my past or my future? What awaited on the path ahead, I couldn't say, but I had no choice but to take the first step. That sounds like someone talking from the future, if you ask me. I know what it's like. It was the same for me. But I was lucky, because Thancred freed me from Yulmore, and I had a chance to see the world. More importantly, though, I met all kinds of people, and they taught me to not to live in another's shadow, but to be myself. Maybe one day you'll have that chance, too. Said your piece, have you? One day? What's that supposed to mean? I don't know how the Great Oracle of Light sees such things. But for someone like me, who's only known life in Yulmore, there was no tomorrow, there was no future, only the here and now. And while we waste time on these meaningless conversations, I feel each moment of my life slipping away. Time. It won't wait. Not for me, not for anyone. I don't know how much longer I can hold on to who I am. I'm Saya, Gaia. Gaia? That's probably not even my real name. It isn't? When Thancred asked me my name, I couldn't remember. That's when the fairy whispered to me, Gaia. But if you grew up in Yulmore, surely someone there must know who you are. Everyone I once knew had either disappeared or had been turned into Sin Eaters. Those whose faces and names I still remember, that is. In the end, we found not a single person who so much as recognized me. As far as I can recall, I've never been the most sociable person, but still. Well, even if it's not your real name, I think Gaia sounds lovely. If you're happy with it, then that's what I'll call you. And if you're willing, instead of the Oracle of Light, please call me Reen. It's not the name I was born with, that's long forgotten now, but the one its people who I consider family gave to me. Is that so? Well, as much as I'd love to keep up this chatting, there's something that's bothering me. I thought the fairy would have reacted to Eden in some way, but so far, nothing whatsoever. From what I gather, it wasn't until Eden started moving that I appeared out of the blue. Perhaps if you were to actually try flying it somewhere, the fairy might break its silence. If you've got elements to restore, or whatever it was, why don't you hurry up and get it over with? Need to learn some manners. And you need to stop wasting my time. Wanna bark at that fairy of yours like that? Alright, everyone. I think we've talked for long enough. If you're ready, let's make our way to Eden. Inside we go! Following the initial changes wrought by the release of water and earth, Empty half displayed no further signs of alteration. Stability, some may call this, and be satisfied, but in truth it is passivity. A passivity stemming from Light's ever-pervasive presence. If we are to break the status quo, we must needs employ a catalyst, a third element that shall rouse and stabilize those unleashed energies in activity. Therefore, I propose lightning. So the Primal would be Ramuh, yes? From what I've heard, he's a guardian of the forest, and not particularly keen on conflict, but you've actually fought him, haven't you? I spent most of the time chasing after orbs with varying degrees of success. I wonder if the sylphs had anything to do with that. I hear they can be quite mischievous, much like the pixies of Ilg-Meg. I'm glad to see our lessons have paid off. Well, it's like you say. If we want to call forth an accurate representation of the Primal, I should picture it in my mind as clearly as possible. At the very least, it's worth a try, but the rest is up to Prince. In order for this to work, we need to actually fly somewhere, yes? So rather than sitting in one spot while you exchange anecdotes, why don't you get this blasted thing moving first? One must admit, the suggestion is not without merit. Green, might I suggest the Gandalf Thunder Plains as our next location? These plains, it is written, were perpetually blanketed in storm clouds, the only source of illumination the ceaseless barrage of lightning. The ambient ether that lingereth there shall provide ideal conditions for the summoning. Then that's where we're headed. Come on, Eden, we have a job to do. This should be as good a spot as any. Alright, Prince, whenever you're ready. Memories of Ramuh flash through your mind? Eden's Verse, Fulmination, now accessible. Alright, let's get ourselves queued up for this. There it is. It's been a while. And it looks like we have a little bit of a wait here before this actually pops up. While we're waiting here, let's speak to the rest of the party and see what they have to say. The area is saturated with lightning-aspected ether. This I am able to confirm. In addition to the primal, be thou wary of stray bolts that may occur as a result of our activity. All the lightning that's fallen here over the years has left the ground covered in craters, but don't worry, Eden will give you something more even to stand on. Even if Reen has done a good job of memorizing my description of Ramu, it will likely make little difference to how he manifests. After all, it's your memories that shape the summoning, not hers. I don't think I've ever been anywhere like this before, and I'm not sure I'd want to come back. Too dreary for my liking. It would be nice if our next destination is a little cheerier, but I suppose I can't exactly choose if I want answers. Alright, let's also take a look at the description of this here. So, although Gaia, the girl who had previously launched an attack on Eden, has finally awoken, her amnesia prevents you from learning much of her origins. For the time being, the best course of action appears to be continuing with efforts to restore balance to the ambient ether of the empty. The next element is lightning, which once ravaged the Gandalf Thunder Plains in the time before the Flood of Light. Your memories of Ramu give corporeal form to this crackling ethereal energies drawn forth. And we need an average item level of 455. I'm currently at 464, so we should be good to go for this. Alright, it looks like the time has actually increased here between duties. But we do have a bunch of players in the area, so they might be on different steps of the of everything, though. So, while we're waiting here, we're going to make a quick little trip out of the area. And what I wanted to point out is I've made several improvements related to my Disciple of Hand and Land, but that doesn't mean I can't continue on with that as we're waiting here. Let's go ahead and actually make our way over to Ishgard first, to Idleshire. Since one of the best sources for leveling up is going to be custom deliveries. I would say starting into the main scenario might be a good idea as well, except for the fact that I really wouldn't want to do that unless this was actually saying that the wait was longer than 30 minutes. Alright, Zloe, what do you need right now? Right now, you need some heartfelt gifts. Let me get my armor set on. Oh, what can be restored? Seems like you got everything. Alright, so we need to make a heartfelt gift. Yeah, and a lot of abilities have changed here, I'm also noticing. Let me see if I can clear some of that up here. It doesn't look like it'll let me do that as I'm trying to craft here. We'll keep what we can. Kind of surprised that they got rid of the specialist actions. Okay, so now let's come over to our actions. Yeah, it looks like there's only one specialist ability now. They also got rid of the longer waist knot. Of the trait is always a good thing to have. You know what? That timer is actually getting even longer now. I'm actually really surprised by that. Alright, I wanted to try one thing before we actually start into crafting here then. Just to see if maybe we can reduce the time this is going to take. And that is for me to switch over to White Mage. The only question... No, it doesn't look like I have the gear to actually do that, unfortunately. Alright, so we'll get back into Q. And what I would say is, yeah, let's go ahead and start into the main scenario, since that is a really long timer, and we can stop once this finally does pop here. This is why I typically try to do this after the patch drops, but unfortunately that just didn't work out for me this week. Alright, so into the Rising Stones we go! Prince! My, what a pleasant surprise! If you've come to inquire after the Archons, fear not. Master Matoya's treatment has proven effective in stabilizing their corporeal aether. We mustn't grow complacent, however. Potent though these magics may be, they are not without limits. We can only hope they afford us enough time for the Crystal Ectarch to complete his work. If only we could go with you to the first and help. Pardon the interruption, but I come bearing urgent news. Prince. It has been far too long, my friend. Forgive me, I don't believe we have been formally introduced. Maxima, former Garlean ambassador. I remain here in Eorzea under the auspices of Commander Alden, offering what counsel I can in the hopes of resolving the present conflict with the Empire. Ah yes, I have heard stories of a defector from Garlemald. But never mind that. You said you have urgent news? Indeed. As you may have heard, the Imperial capital is in turmoil, and a sizable portion of the Garlean forces have been recalled from the Gimlet Dark. With their numbers so greatly diminished, the main host of the Alliance has withdrawn, leaving the Alamegan resistance to keep watch over the border. And it was there that we have welcomed a most unexpected visitor who claims that this de-escalation may belie growing dangers and unforeseen threats. Commander Alden has arranged for an impromptu meeting to discuss these revelations. He has also requested a representative of the Scions attend as well, though it was clear to whom he wished I extend this invitation. It would seem time is of the essence. Well, you'll not be attending this meeting alone. Though I am not as well versed in the affairs of city-states as our comrades, I see no reason to burden a single Scion with all this. Yes, of course. Then we must make for the Alamegan quarter with all haste. Well, what are you waiting for? Get going, you two! Alright, so we need to head to Alamega. Oh, actually, the timer's shrunk down to 10 minutes now. Okay. Let's see, we want Gurabania and the Alamegan Quarter. Oh, it looks like slots are actually starting to fill up here. You know what? Let's give it a chance to get the rest of the players in here. And we'll go ahead and craft that thing up real quick. Alright, so waste not. And inner quiet. Alright, Byragot's Blessing to finish that up. Alright, let's do that again. And let's finish that up. There we go. And now we need to actually make the gift. Oh, we actually need 3 materials for that. Okay, and yeah, take a look at this. We just need 1 more healer, and then we're good to go. So we'll hang here for just a moment. Until this actually pops now. In the meantime, let me see what I should have to eat here. Spaghetti al Nero should do. Again, we're just waiting for one more player, and then we'll be into the first raid boss. Come on, healer. We just need one more of you. There we go, finally.
No turning back. Get ready!
Now that's interesting. He's lost his beard, but he's gained some wings as well as the body of a horse. I think our memories got crossed up with Ixion. Stratosphere summons. That sounds like that might be something the off-tank needs to pick up. Nope, just towers. Oh. Let's avoid the lightning. Okay, so I actually do need to keep it to no higher than 3. Looks like the healers are having trouble keeping up here. Ooh, what is this? Alright, I'm down, waiting for a res. Yeah, so for that move, he summons various things that are going to summon lightning to the ground. And you gotta look for whichever one is not high up. Looks like somebody's trying to get me up now. Here we go. I really didn't have much choice but to pop hollowed ground there, given how quickly I was losing HP. Alright, I see Ixion's over there. Unfortunately, I didn't see the crippling blow in time. At the very least, the healers are doing their best to try to keep the party up. But this is a very messy attempt, that's for certain. Alright, there are those Ixions again. We gotta stay off that track. At this point, I'm gonna try to support the healer. That way we can at least try to keep going here, especially because, there's no such thing as an enrage, or at least there typically isn't on a normal mode. Alright, there's the healer, LB, which is fine. got Stratosphere summons coming. To this side. We've got more Ixions coming. This track is clear. Alright, I'm on his tank again. Yeah, given how messy this thing is, I don't want to use my, my Holy Spirit. I saw the crippling blow that time. To this side. So it looks like we're mostly together at this point, in terms of how this fight is going to go. Last one of the healers. got more Ixions coming. Come on, finish him off. And down they go. I'm gonna go for the bangles here. Alright, we got it. And that took us right back over to here. Let's finish up that quest. I thought I was prepared to expect anything, but I didn't expect Ramuh to turn out quite like that. Appearance aside, he was quite aggressive as well. The sylph's belief in him as a kindly guardian clearly makes a difference to his temperament. Anyway, I'm just glad it's over. Let's get back to camp and see if anything's changed. Let's grab the tenacity here. The crystal's a different color, but apart from that, it all looks the same. It may look the same eye, but it feels different. The air has grown slightly more human, as it does before rain. I have to say, I'm not exactly prepared for wet weather. If Eden can control elements and so on, can't you tell it to send those clouds somewhere else? Speaking of which, I'm not very impressed with its so-called powers. If changing yellow crystals to purple is the extent of its abilities, it's no surprise the fairy didn't bother showing up. I hope that's whatever's next is more worthwhile. Rather than influencing the ground beneath our feet, Eden hath brought change to the firmament above. And yet 'tis clear that a more dynamic element is required for the natural cycle of precipitation and evaporation to be complete. So we need movement. Would wind do the trick? Most certainly. It seems we have a plan. Let's not dwell too much on the effects of each individual element, and instead focus on seeing them all restored. Power of an oracle. Not to be sniffed at, it seems. All my life, you were a constant companion, your voice ever seeping into my mind. Why then, of all times, did you abandon me? Deaf even to the crashing of thunder, or were you simply biding your time? Alright, let's start up the next quest. Into the Firestorm. I thought we were talking wind. Ere we set out once more, might I ask if thou art familiar with the process by which rain is made to fall? I would... You know what, let's go for it. It's an elegant conspiracy. It certainly would not be beyond the elegance to manipulate the weather, if such is thy suggestion, but it is of naturally occurring phenomena that I would speak. With the restoration of our first element, the empty was once more blessed with the most essential ingredient in the cycle of precipitation, water. Under normal circumstances, the heat existent in the atmosphere would cause water to evaporate from the land's surface. An invisible vapor, it is borne by the wind high unto the firmament, where it doth condense as clouds before descending once more, returning to the land in the form of rain. It seems we need wind-aspected ether to create more clouds. That it hasn't rained yet must mean there aren't enough. But even before that, we need fire-aspect ether to make the water evaporate. It seems to me that one's not much good without the other. Why don't you draw out both elements together? You're suggesting that Prince fight two Dayform entities? Each one as deadly as Ramuh at the same time? Do you realize how absurd that is? And yet, 'tis a notion that doth warrant further consideration. Oh, you can't be serious. Cast your minds, if you will, to the elemental wheel I did show you in the bookman's shelves. Wind giveth rise to lightning, whose spark doth produce fire. By restoring both wind and fire in tandem, we may maintain balance between these dynamic elemental forces. The ensuing battle shall indubitably present an ordeal unlike any prince hath ever faced. I believe, however, that this path doth lead to the prize we seek. Oh, so perhaps it's not so absurd after all, eh, Thancred? I wouldn't dream of questioning Urianger's grasp of the science behind it. My concern is for the burden this would place not only on Prince, but Reen as well. What do you both make of this plan? If Urianger thinks it'll work, I'm willing to give it a try. As long as you know what you're letting yourselves in for. You're going to need all your strength, so see that you get plenty of rest. Gaia! seems Reen is reluctant to air her concerns. Were you to rally her spirits, she may become more willing to talk. Yes, you're right. There's no use in trying to pilot Eden while I've got other things on my mind. It's about Gaia, you see. The truth is that apart from Alisei and Alphino, I hardly know anyone my own age. I thought that I should make an effort to be nice to Gaia, but, well, you've seen how she is around me. I understand that she's got her own problems to deal with, but I thought that maybe I could help her in some way. It's not my place to intrude, and I should probably just leave her be until we're finished restoring the elements. After all, that's more important, isn't it? Let me talk to Gaia while you concentrate on the task at hand. Is what I would have said once upon a time. It seems to me that you're the one best qualified to take care of this little problem. I know she can be a bit prickly, to put it mildly, but if anyone can get through to her, it's you. Although we've only known her for a short while, we're all she's got, and I think she realizes that. Just let her know that she's not alone and she'll come around eventually. Alright, I'll give it a try. Do you have any advice? Thancred certainly has the gift of the gab. He'll know what to say. I'm afraid that since arriving in the first, I've had little time to mingle with any of the locals, and I haven't a clue what young women like Gaia would be interested in. Ah, that's given me an idea. I'll start with some small talk and go from there. Actually, since before she even woke up, I've been asking Lena about what's popular in the Crystarium. I thought it might be nice to show Gaia around the place one day, you see. So that's what you were doing. I suppose it makes for a nice change of pace from all that studying. And I must commend thee on thy choice of confidant. The captain's powers of observation maketh her a veritable font of wisdom concerning the behavior of the Crystarium citizenry. Yes, and now it's time to put that knowledge to good use. Don't let the fear of rejection hold you back. Persistence is the key. Speaking from experience, by any chance? Whatever you mean. Lessons learned from days spent in pursuit of ladies fair, one might suspect. God, you couldn't help yourself, could you? It's alright, Thancred. Your secret's safe with me. May I remind you that the reason we're here is to create a better future for everyone in the first, which includes you and Gaia. While it might not be on the same scale as bringing life back to the empty, if you're able to befriend her, that will be another way of contributing to a brighter tomorrow. So go on. She's waiting for you. Alright, wish me luck. Reen is ready to approach the decidedly unapproachable Gaia. You would best observe the conversation from within earshot. Which is exactly where I'm standing right now. Squats in the background, huh? What do you want? Oh, nothing really. It can wait till later. For all we know, there might not even be a later. If you got something to say, hurry up and spit it out. Is everything alright? Not feeling strange from being around Eden or anything? Is that what you came here to talk about? Actually, I wanted to ask you. Would you like to go and have coffee biscuits with me? What? Coffee biscuits. They serve them at the second serving in the Crystarium. Everyone's talking about them. So I thought that maybe once we finished our work here, you and I could go there together. Let me get this straight. You came to talk to me about biscuits. Yes, they're light and crispy, and when you dip them in coffee, they go all nice and squidgy. The only reason you're even interested in that in the first place is because everyone else is doing it. Can't you think for yourself? I do what I want, when I want. After all, the world could end at any moment. That's not going to happen. Not if I've got anything to do with it. Listen, Gaia, I understand what you're going through. Believe me, I do. But you mustn't lose hope. A new day will come. Then another and another. Life's not so bad if you give it a chance. You'll see. Shut up. You think you even know me? Even I don't know who I am. Until I find the truth, I'll never be free. Then we'll find it together. I've seen enough pain, enough loss, and I don't want to see any more. And that includes you, Gaia. Why do you care so much about other people? What have they ever done for you? I'm sure you haven't forgotten how we Yulmorans treated you, the precious Oracle of Light, like a bird in a cage. And yet you act as if none of that ever happened. So forgiving, so selfless. You and your family brought back the night sky, and you finally had the chance to lead a normal life. But instead, you're flying around in a giant sin-eater, trying to turn a barren wasteland into some sort of paradise. And for what? I may not remember much of my past, but I'm fairly certain I've never heard of anything so ridiculous. Out of morbid curiosity, I'll see it through to the end. But if you think that makes us friends, you are very much mistaken. Gaia! I surmised that to keep Gaia waiting over long would only agitate her further. Alright, let's make our way back over to Eden's core. I wish these things would default to yes. To defeat the deformed manifestations of both wind and fire shall require every last mote of thy strength. That thou hast previously triumphed over such beings in previous encounters should be at the forefront of thy mind as we commence the summoning. Where are we going this time, Urianger? The place called Ashfall doth satisfy our requirements, I believe. The fables speak of travelers sweltering beneath the blazing heat of the midday sun, while at nightfall, slicing winds did tear at their cloaks. I see. Hopefully it won't be quite that bad when I draw out the elements. Green, my dear, may I remind thee that to focus is not the same as to deny other thoughts. Whatsoever it is that troubleth thee, thou wouldst be better for acknowledging it. Yes, you're right, of course. It's Gaia and I'm worried about. It's Gaia that I'm worried about. That is well. May thy concern for her lend thee yet more strength. It's time. I'll begin drawing out the wind and fire in equal measure. Prince, we'll only get one chance at this, so let's make it count. Memories of Garuda and Ifrit rage through your mind. Eden's verse, Furor, now accessible. Alright, let's queue up. Alright, looks like we don't have as long of a wait this time, compared to previous. My studies indicate that no equivalent of Garuda's servants, the Ixal, are present here on the first. My hypothesis as to the reason why can perhaps wait till another time. I thought they were Allegan creations, based on what we saw up in the near the Aetherochemical Research Facility. Oh, here we go. It looks like we start with Garuda. That's probably going to start growing. Or not. Oh, you can't go into that. Okay. Okay, there's Ifrit. So it looks like we're going to be alternating back and forth with them then. He's definitely got us dancing here, that's for certain. Which one's gonna grow first? They're all gonna grow. Oh. So he kicks one of them in. Yep, so we got both of them at the same time now here. And I'm down. Using a lot of attacks I haven't seen before. Oh, they're combining together. So what do we want to call this creation? Alright, that's one of Ifrit's standard ones. Then we got Firestorm. Alright, this one we have to stay inside the line. What's the deal with this one? I'm surprised, actually, I'm trying to remember now if there were instant kill walls, back in E1. I think there were. Hopefully they can get that other healer up there. Wow, that's messy there. Looks like this is called Rektapska. Never heard of it before. But I guess this is one of those bosses that you just need to keep central in the stage rather than on the edge. All right, we're back up. We should be able to use that limit break pretty soon here. Real soon, potentially. At this point, I'm just trying to play off healer to keep, help keep everybody up. I guess nobody wanted to use the limit break. Alright, let's go for another bangle this time. And it looks like we got it. Cool. That was incredible. I never imagined they would fuse together like that, but you took them down all the same. I suppose the main thing is that we're now 2 elements closer to restoring the ether of the empty. Let's go and see what difference it's made. Let's go with tenacity again. It actually worked, just like Oriange said it would. Everything we could have hoped for. Indeed, our endeavors have been rapid manifold. I wonder what will happen when we restore ice. Is something the matter? One more element, and then what? You'll have achieved the impossible, while I'll still be nothing. No memory, no past, no family, nothing. The world has moved on and left me behind. Anyone who ever knew me is either dead or gone. So, Almighty Eden, you can mend this broken world, but you can't restore one girl's memories? Give me my life back, damn you. Still hunger. Ah! Extinguish the accursed light, awaken our true power. Enough riddles, tell me who I am. You are. I am Gaia. Gaia. Gaia, what's wrong? Claim your memories. Fulfill your destiny. I don't understand. Gaia, can you hear me? Get away from me! Amidst the sound of falling rain, your voice called from within. Long after the rain passed, your voice echoed on. Alright, before we move on to the next quest, I do want to make a quick trip over to Yulmore to actually pick up the rewards from those bangles, so bear with me for one moment. I think we're going to need the extra defenses in the next coming fights. So, we want the token no, we want Eden Relic Exchange. Here we go. Yeah, definitely. That is... I've got on 470 right now. And a 460 ring. But I'm thinking, let's get... Actually, this is only 450. Let's definitely get the earring then. And then... It sucks that a lot of this stuff has skill speed on it. But I'll go ahead and go with the ring. Okay, so it looks like that gave us somewhere between another 2,000 to 3,000 HP there. And then... I do need to put some materia into these. Let's see what they take. Alright, so one will take determination, the other will take crit. Looks like I just need one determination materia. Alright, so determination goes there. And then crit will go here. Alright, let's make our way back out to Amarang. And we're gonna come down here to the Sky Slipper. Alright, Thancred. While this downpour is precisely the result we were hoping for, the novelty of standing outside in the rain does wear off rather quickly. Not to mention guys looking a bit under the weather. Let's continue this conversation in Eden's Core. Alright, up to Eden's Core we go. Ere we set forth to restore the element of ice, I would discuss the manner in which the summoning shall be undertaken. Just tell me one thing. Is this going to bring the empty back to the way it was before the flood? While none can say for certain, the change we have observed at points of ethereal intersection doth give us cause for optimism. It may be reasonably assumed that the empty shall continue to transform and, in the decades to come, regain a semblance of its former state. Decades? I don't think you've quite grasped the sheer scale of the damage left in the wake of the flood. It would have swallowed the entire world if Minfilia hadn't stopped it. Even if Yeah, even if Rain had inherited her blessings, wounds like that don't heal overnight. After all, the Empty has been utterly devoid of life for 100 years. And it might take even longer than that to bring back life. I don't expect immediate results, but I do know that it will stay like this forever, unless we do something about it. My sentiments precisely. Only once the final element is restored shall we have a glimpse of the future that awaited those of generations yet to come. You do all this for a world you may not live long enough to see? Well, here I am, so absorbed in my own problems that I spare barely a thought for anyone besides myself. For so long, I've listened to that voice, telling me what to do, who to be. I was so scared of what might happen if I disobeyed. But I don't want to live like that anymore. I want to be me. Who am I? What am I? Perhaps it's better if I never find out. If Reen's the Oracle of Light, here to mend this broken world, what does that make me? Gaia, the Oracle of Darkness, bringer of misery and death, a monster. It's no wonder they left me, mother and father. And next it'll be all of you, and then I'll be back where I started, where I've always been, alone. Gaia, is it the fairy? What's wrong? Afraid I might lose control and ruin all your carefully laid plans? No, it's you I'm worried about. Reen, I'm going outside to clear my head. You just do what you need to do, alright? Something's wrong. I know it. That much is clear. If we have a repeat of her first visit to Eden, we may even be joined by those Void-sent friends of hers. If you go and see what Gaia's doing, Urianger and I will stay with Reen. My name is Gaia. That's what you said, isn't it? Eden, the Flood. What does it all mean? No, it can't be. Is this what I've been waiting for all this time? Finally, you remember. Ah! What is this? The darkness that dwelleth within you, Gaia. The accursed spawn of light are drawn to it, like moths to a flame. Pathetic. Sin Eaters? Now the time of awakening has come. Prince, Reen senses Sin Eaters. What's happened? We're surrounded. Don't try to fight them. Just bring Gaia back inside. Quickly now. What's happened to her? That's a concern for later. First, we must deal with those seniors. Prince, if thou wouldst care to repel our assailants without, I would task Thancred with standing guard within. I shall tend to Gaia meanwhile. Eden's verse, Iconoclasm, now accessible. Alrighty, let's get that queued up. I mean, once you finally understand what's actually going on, it's kind of simple. You got to be situationally aware about where the birds are flying into, as well as if you've got your own color to worry about. Alright, I think I need a new waist part, so let's see if we can get that here. Doesn't look like it actually. Guess I'll have to do that at some other point. Let's try... Let's try for the gloves then. Kind of a low row though. If I don't get that, then... I don't see any boots. Maybe pants, then, if I don't get that. Wow, all my rolls are low. Oh, okay. And I got the gauntlets. Nice. Alrighty, everyone. So before we continue on here, I do need to take a quick 3 to 5 minute break here, at which point we will resume and finish this up, so please stand by.